determining whether Apple really is the #1 best managed company in the United States. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Notion. Work faster, write better, think bigger with Notion. Learn more at notion.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's MacVoices Live, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you join us. Obviously, if you're hearing this now and you're not here, you wouldn't be hearing it. So there you go. But we do this every Tuesday night, and we'd love to have you join us in the chat room. We have a bunch of people in there now. We're expecting more as the show goes on, so you could be one of them. We have a few things to get through tonight. The tech news seems to be slowing down a bit, but that doesn't mean there aren't some very interesting things going on. So we're going to talk about those. Let's go around the room, find out who's here, and then we'll tackle everything. As usual, in the top left of my screen, Mr. David Ginsburg. David, great to have you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, and we'll find something to talk about.
Oh yeah. There's not like we don't have something to talk about. It's just we don't have multiple subjects, so we'll be digging a little deeper tonight. Marty Jencius is in the top right of my screen. He said he has his, what was it, Marty? Your nasty shoes on tonight or something?
My cruel shoes on tonight.
Cruel shoes. Excuse me. Okay.
Yeah. Chuck, it's been a rough week. It's finals week, so I have to grade finals. Oh. And then, my dog is going in for her third surgery coming up in a couple of days. Third surgery this year. And I'm a little worried, frankly. And the veterinary surgeon said that he thinks it's a tricky surgery, but he thinks he'll be successful with it. And so we're remaining optimistic. The dog has to have my bank account removed from it.
I had no idea where you were going with that, Marty, but So based on the size of your bank account, is that major or minor surgery?
Oh, that's major surgery. That's retirement surgery.
Okay. Well, we'll set up a GoFundMe for Marty's retirement if the dog uses it up.
Gobbles it all up.
Yeah. Jim Ray is with us in the bottom left of my screen. Jim, it's good to have you, but we're all a little confused. No hat, no cap, no nothing?
I am not actually Jim Ray.
That would explain it. Nah, I'll just let it go.
Just an incredible simulation.
Okay.
They're getting really good.
I got nothing. Eric Bolden is here as well. Ray. Yes, Chat Ray. Eric Bolden is here, and this time though, is that a bird up in the top? Let's see, what would it be? Right or left?
Here.
Yeah. Okay. What do we have tonight?
Bald eagle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I probably could have zoomed in just a little bit more, but
well, and I have my screen kind of small so I could see you all, so that's probably why I'm not seeing it very well. But just goes to show you how well they can camouflage themselves in nature, because I almost didn't see it.
Well, it's the when the temperature drops down below freezing and all the water starts freezing, the Wisconsin River starts to freeze, but the surrounding rivers freeze, and then all the bald eagles concentrate up and down the Wisconsin River up towards the dam. So it's easier to get pictures.
Okay, I'll bite. Why do they concentrate near the dam?
Because they're trying to fish, and it's hard to fish through frozen water.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Well, I want to make a note of that. Hold on. Don't.
Well, I mean, the ice fishermen, they do just fine.
Yeah,
they drill through the
we fish through frozen water all the time.
Yeah, but
just
there aren't a lot of
build
birds.
A shack.
There aren't a lot of birds inside those shacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making notes on fishing and ice, Mr. Web Bixby. Web, it's good to have you.
Chuck, it's good to be here. I have a bonus topic that I just heard about on the way home today. So as time evolves, maybe we'll get to it. It's not all that important, but it could be a bonus. So
okay, that sounds good. Don't let me forget it, please. But I do want to say congratulations to you and the Kansas City Chiefs. Another heart-stopping end to a game, but they end up as the division champions. So nice job.
Yeah, like I said in the pre-show, it's great, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to be humbled here pretty soon, right, Marty? I'm going to be humbled. So until then,
like I said, you can start being humble without waiting for a loss.
I get humbled every day at work. Trust me. So.
That's a whole nother podcast. Web. We'll start that. Start that after the first of the year. Oh man, this is going to be a good night. I can just tell. Well, the first topic tonight is on the positive side. I think anyway, and that is that Apple once again has been named the best managed company in the U.S. rankings. It seems like this has happened a number of times. Let's see. I guess they had it for 4 years, then they lost it to Microsoft, which is just unbelievable after the day that I've had with Teams. And now they're back on top. And if you think, I don't know, I guess my first reaction is if you think back on the last year of how Apple has done what they've done, it doesn't feel like there have been a lot of missteps that I could think of anyway. Does anybody can think of major missteps or issues?
I think they took a lot of flack this year over lots of things. They still are in some ways. The product rollout of Vision Pro, people were all over that, still are, in terms of it's not practical, it costs too much. And then AI coming out in Apple's fashion, people are taking a lot of pot shots at it. So this is good press. This is really good press. But the fact that they brought out an AI system that's different and unique, and the fact that they did some really envelope pushing with AR, VR, with spatial computing, I think that speaks to the credit of the company and the way the company is innovative. I don't see other companies that innovative.
One of the things that struck me was, and we've discussed this on previous shows, is how Tim Cook and Apple have managed their relationships with the political relationships with Washington. I know Tim drew fire for a little while about talking to Trump and all. He certainly did during Trump's last administration, but it seems to be playing out well right at the moment because of all Trump's discussions of tariffs, and having Apple viewed favorably, may help them. That's no guarantee, but it definitely they won't be looked down upon. The worst that can happen would be that they would be viewed as any other tech company. So I that was one that struck me. Anybody else have any other?
I have a couple of tech. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I was just going to say the Mac Mini rollout was really impressive. They were trying to first of all, just the size of it, how much energy it draws when you use it, the performance on it, but also was something where they were trying to not airship everything. So they were trying to not use airplanes to move it around, so they pre-staged it, get it all ready. So I think it took less energy to get the minis to their destination. So that was impressive. There's a lot of planning involved with that.
Yeah. What?
Oh, I did just the guidepost they used is this the Drucker Institute, and when I was in college, Peter Drucker was kind of the guru of management at the time, and still is to a certain extent, as are a few others. So, Apple's a huge organization. It's a very complex organization. They do a lot of things, and we just see kind of the top 15-20% of what goes on at Apple. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, not only on the product development side, but also on just the organizational level. So this doesn't really surprise me. Like I said, it's a huge, complex organization, and they seem to manage it very well. And by the way, they make a buck or two. So, I'm not surprised. The way that they're being or the way they're being measured is through this Peter Drucker Institute, and I don't think they're looking at things like the Mac Mini. I am. I got one right there, and I'm very, very pleased with it. But I think as a management and a management organization, I think that it's really interesting. Now, Apple seems to have some issues on their management ranks right now. They seem to have a lot of they have trouble bringing new people in. I'll just put it that way, especially at the senior level. When they do come in, they don't necessarily stick around very long. So I think there's a hill that they're going to have to climb here eventually. But for now, I'll give them the gratitude that they've earned.
Okay, Jim.
I think that, who's to say? Best managed company? I mean, this is just filler baloney. And if you don't believe me, the number 4 company on the list, so whoever did this ranking says the 4th best managed company is, drumroll, Intel. If Intel is number 4th, then the whole list is, just baloney.
Well, either that
I'm not saying Apple is poorly managed, but, is it 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 15th? Those, who knows?
Either that or the companies under it are really in trouble. Because I think it was Cletus in the chat room looked at number 10, Philip Morris International, and said, really?
Yeah.
That. So I was going to ask, though, about number 2, NVIDIA. I mean, do you think that they are really that well managed? Do you think they just struck gold with their chips, and because they're making so much money and they're in such demand that they have such a high profile? Or do you think it really is a well-managed company because they've been able to meet so much demand to a reasonable degree?
Again, yeah, who's to say? And, the Dodgers won the World Series this year. Is that because Dave Roberts was the best manager? Or, they happen to have the best players, especially at a certain time in October? I'm sure there's well-managed companies that are much, lower profile than on this list. So, I don't know. To me, this is, the real point of this is undoubtedly to promote this Claremont Graduate University Drucker Institute.
That's a fair point, Jim. I mean, that sometimes feels like the reason for every kind of award or ranking or whatever, that, the people that do them are looking for recognition and looking for prestige and that kind of thing. So I think that very definitely is a fair observation. Still, they have to base it on something, and we can second guess all of these we want. But even if you just say, let's just say the top 5, okay, with the possible exception of Intel, which seems to be in a bit of an issue right now. So I don't know. Hey, like
I'm
you
not
said,
saying that
good
these
press.
companies are poorly managed. Certainly not saying that Apple's poorly managed. but are they first, second, third? I don't know. They're well managed and they're doing well. And, it just seems like this overall well managed is sort of a useless, I don't even want to call it a measurement. It's unmeasurable.
Marty?
Yeah, I get Jim's point. But having had to suffer through survey research and academics, generally the surveys are well put together. It talks about the metrics in here. There are 5 categories: customer satisfaction, innovation, social responsibility, employee engagement and development, and financial strength, with 35 total sub-indicators in each one of those. So they set, from what we know, they set the survey or they set the assessment up pretty well. The other thing that's really noted is, Intel is 4th, but they dropped to 78. Apple's at 90, Nvidia's at 88. So you're looking at a large gap. And the range of this just in the top 10 is from 90 to 73. And that's just the top 10. So there's not a lot of clustering up near the top. And so take it for what it's worth.
What are the units on those numbers?
We don't know. They haven't revealed that. And that's part of that.
Saying there's a gap is also meaningless because we don't even know what these numbers mean. And yeah, they, then even if you say these numbers have some meaning, look at 5, 6, and 7 are, less than 1% apart.
Yeah, but you can look at the gap in the top 10 and figure out what the standard deviation is. You can get some ideas. You can run the statistics to do some backwards engineering. But that's pretty significant when you've got that gap.
And I'm sure if you decided that you wanted more information on this, you could go digging and see, where any of these companies rank strongest in those categories. It's just, as usual in our fast-paced, let's condense and let's summarize everything world, this is what we get. So whoever said it, you take it for what it is. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Notion. Work faster, write better, think bigger with Notion. Learn more at notion.com/MacVoices. 2025 is here, and it isn't going to be like 2024. Or is it? Sir Winston Churchill said that those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. You can avoid doom this year by learning about Notion. The fully integrated Notion AI helps you work faster, write better, and think bigger, doing tasks that normally take you hours in just seconds. No more dashing from app to app, trying to keep both your projects and your sanity intact. Notion combines your notes, docs, and projects into one space that's simple and beautifully designed. Don't take it from me. Take it from Sir Winston and try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/MacVoices. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/MacVoices, to try the powerful, easy-to-use Notion AI today. And when you use my link, you're supporting my show. Notion.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Notion for their support of MacVoices.
I find it kind of interesting, though. A lot of people are looking at companies and saying, well, is it software or is it the chip that's important? And the 2 companies that are at the top of this list, maybe even the 3 at the top of the list, it's all software. The hardware part is not the key important piece.
NVIDIA is a software company?
Yeah, the NVIDIA exists because of the software that they developed that everybody started writing into everything, which is what's used in all of the model generation. And all the statisticians have all of their code is all written using that software, and it's really hard to move to something else. That's why they're still as popular as they are.
And Microsoft.
I had talked about Intel last week when we were on the show last week, and Intel. I'm surprised that they're on here and they're considered a model management company because the point that I brought out was that the problems that they are experiencing now are really problems that were established several years ago. I want to say 10 years ago. When they decided to make a couple of decisions on product direction that did not go well. So, I'm not going to argue that Intel belongs on this list. I'm kind of surprised by it too. Philip Morris is a huge organization. They do lots of things besides just tobacco. A lot of food products are in there. And here again, also international. Johnson & Johnson is I did a case study on this company here again back in college. They are very ethically driven. The Johnson & Johnson credo is one of the things that a lot of companies model themselves after. It's I'm not going to sit here and argue why is Intel on here, and I don't think we truly understand the metrics. Then I think I'm going to say that especially on this show, we're kind of putting it through a technology bent, and these are not all technology companies. Some of them are, but Procter & Gamble is not, Johnson & Johnson is not, MasterCard is not. They're not technology companies like Apple and NVIDIA and so on and so forth. So I don't know exactly what we're measuring here, but at the end of the day, the question is that Apple was considered by this scale a superiorly managed organization. And I think they've proven it. So.
And also, if you have 5 categories, it's possible that one or two categories might be propping up a company where they are scoring poorly and relatively poorly in the others. I mean, you can't score too bad or you would be a lot farther down the list. So would especially be interested in the details of the Intel. But also might be interesting to see just the top 3 above that, Apple, NVIDIA, and Microsoft, to see what the individual category scorings were, and which one or ones pushed Apple over the top. Where were they below NVIDIA and Microsoft? So again, if anybody has full access to that and wants to send us some information, by all means, please.
I've been putting in our local chat, and maybe you can maybe use them or not, but I went to the Claremont University Drucker Institute and searched for the 250 management rankings. They have a lot of information on there. There's a lot of information to go in terms of looking at data, looking at the top 10 by category, at least for 2023. So you see some interesting shifts with that. The one that I thought was interesting was those that had the breakthrough companies into 2024 ranking. So if you poke around with that, you'll find a lot of information about how they got the data, and how they even have a chart in here that talks about each of the 5 categories and what they used as indicators for those 5 categories for the rankings. So they're being as transparent as they can without just putting. Well, I mean, this was not necessarily a survey. This was a assessment done on data, and data that they got from other outside sources to make the decisions about the rankings for each company. So.
Thank you, Marty. I'll make sure those are in the show notes, and I also just paste them into the YouTube chat for the live viewers to use. So,
I asked the question: Is now that the CEO has stepped down from Intel, was the survey done prior to that happening? Or did that have influenced it? I mean, I'm just kind of throwing out a dart here.
As Marty said, it's not a survey, A, and B, I'm sure all this data predates that. And sort of the point is that, obviously, I guess the board forced the Intel CEO out, right? So they obviously didn't think Intel was properly managed.
Yeah, but they hired him too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not a 3-year plan too.
I think my point is not, I'm not saying that I think that this institute was throwing darts at the wall. But when I was in school, in engineering school, we learned about, and science, about significant digits and in measurements. And the thing is, I think an awful lot of these measurements that they conducted, sure, they did lots of measurements, but probably the significant digits was maybe 1 or 2 at the most. Probably between 1 and 2. So to then go in and say, well, there's a difference between first and 20th, I think that's far exceeding what the data the accuracy of the data you put in. What the heck is customer engagement? How do you measure it? There was something about employee engagement. Social responsibility. I think you can come up with, this one company is a lot more that socially responsible. Apple's more socially responsible than Shell Oil. We could probably all agree with that. But
no, I wouldn't agree with that.
Is you think Shell Oil is more socially responsible than Apple?
You just said not everybody's going to agree with that. So
did I say it backwards?
No,
just being disagreeable.
Yeah. Webb's got his cool shoes on tonight too.
Yeah.
But it's not like, well, is it Apple 92% more responsible or 91 or 90? The measurement's probably plus or minus 50 points. So they're taking all these hundreds of pieces of information, which all are plus or minus 50, adding them together and then saying, yeah, this is 94.2431. Now that's, you added a bunch. You just don't. And then if you look at that company's actual one, they've got all this stuff like it's a horse race. Oh, this company shot up from this to this, and this company fell down. Who cares?
Well, for what it's worth, I ran the top 10 numbers through, and the standard deviation is 7 points. So anything within a 7-point difference is a standard deviation, which is significant in terms of change or an indicator. And again, Jim's point, the indicators might be all crap anyways, but still.
You ran the numbers that are the output of this.
Yeah, that's
not the input. So,
well, that's all we have access to.
Right.
And at some point, given that it's a Drucker Institute, so you would think that they have some methodology that is reasonably well accepted, and consistent. It's not like they just threw this in the hat this year or they threw it in the hat last year. They've been doing this for a while, and they do these categorizations, and the numbers are what the numbers are. And we can argue with them as to whether Apple might be more socially responsible than Microsoft, or that Microsoft is more profitable than NVIDIA, or slice it any way you want it. But these numbers aren't absolute by any means. But I think it does say something about just if in those categories, if they are ranking high, it's not a bad list to be on, with the possible exception of Intel.
To me, it seems like, look at the market cap of these companies. That's probably, that's essentially the market's analysis of maybe not just management, but, that's another thing. Is this, this is pretty similar to market caps for these companies, I assume. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I don't know, but certainly at the top, these top 3 are also the top 3 in market cap, right? And well, is that because of management or because of something else? I don't see how they isolated that.
Well, you know how it is. if the company is doing well, the CEO gets credit. If the company is not doing so well, the CEO takes the hits. Again, Intel.
Right.
So, and it's a company. One person. I mean, somebody has to be at the top, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are making all the mistakes or making all the right decisions.
No, but like you said, they are ultimately the buck stops there.
Right. Right. Well, moving on, because we beat the daylights out of that one. I didn't expect that kind of conversation. That was fun.
Page match.
Yeah. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.